In the previous episode, we saw a woman sitting alone in a chair, preparing for her live execution as a large crowd gathered to watch. A volunteer ominously spoke about how executioners from hell would soon come for her, emphasizing the need for people to atone for their sins. As the countdown ended, 3 executioners broke through the wall and seized the woman. Despite the detectives' efforts to shoot them, the bullets had no effect. The executioners brutally killed her, leaving only a charred skeleton behind before they vanished. Witnessing this, the crowd was struck with fear and fell to the ground, seemingly repenting for their sins. The detective returns home and tries to call his daughter, but her number is out of reach. He is injured and heads to his office, only to find it empty. Watching the news, he sees that people are terrified after the recent events and how Chairman Jung is being hailed as a hero for warning them about this. In an interview, Jung talks about how God shows miracles when the time is right and how people should heed God's warnings or face dire consequences. Meanwhile, the detective reviews CCTV footage and sees someone dragging his wife's killer away, realizing that Jung was responsible for his death. The interview concludes with a revelation of how the new truth predicted the deaths of all those who were guilty. The live streamer announces that once again, God has shown his power, implying that now people will walk the path of righteousness, although he cynically notes that humans will inevitably make mistakes again. He then provokes his followers against the lawyer and her team. Meanwhile, the lawyer is seen preparing her mother, suggesting they are about to leave. We observe people living in tents, and the detective arrives at the scene, but is stopped by others. He then heads to Chairman Jung's house. The lawyer finds a document revealing some details about Jung, and she tells her colleague that Jung's death prophecy occurred 20 years ago. However, it is shown that someone has assaulted him, and she is told to flee. A group of people surrounds her car, where her mother is sitting, and they drag her out, brutally beating her with a baseball bat. When her daughter tries to save her, she too is beaten. Her mother becomes unconscious, and she rushes her to the hospital. Meanwhile, the detective breaks into a Jung house, but finds no one there. The video of the incident goes viral, and everyone watches it. She visits at the hospital only to find out that her mother has passed away. She expresses her grief and leaves. The detective is attacked by Jung followers but then receives a call from Jung, who wants to meet him in private. Jung invites him to an old, abandoned house and asks about his daughter's whereabouts. The girl goes to meet the man who sent her the documents and listens to a recording of Jung. When the detective meets Jung, he reveals that his death prophecy was made 20 years ago, and that it's about to come true in 10 minutes. He explains that despite living a righteous life, he has lived in constant fear since the prophecy. He wants people to feel the same fear and live good lives. The lawyer asks for a copy of the recording but is refused. He had a deal with Jung to become the new chairman of New Truth if he killed the lawyer. As she tries to escape, the gang outside brutally attacks her. He then sits down, claiming that the detective's daughter has safely returned home. He offers the detective 2 options: record his death and show to people and arrest his daughter, or keep silent about his death until his last breath. Then we hear the sound of their arrival. He tells the detective that he is leaving the world in his hands. The 3 executioners appear and begin to beat him mercilessly. The detective watches as they punch him, covering his face in blood. Then, they set him on fire. Jung screams in agony and the 3 executioners vanish into the wall, leaving only his charred skeleton behind. The detective looks his daughter and he started crying, brutally murdered by the gang members. We see that the New Truth organization has erected statues of the 3 executioners. The episode ends with people living in fear of the New Truth's power, showing how deeply they have impacted society. The episode concludes here.